Jesus ossuary is true, Christianity is false. Why?
No bones.
Huh?
No bones to put in a box.
No, listen, yeah, he resurrected his bones. We have his bones. We have his burial box. You may have heard of this because in 2006, James Cameron, the director of Terminator, the Titanic, and Avatar, put together a documentary, supposedly, on the Jesus ossuary, where he said this has got to be Jesus of Nazareth, his burial box. There's just one more problem. It's not the burial box of Jesus of Nazareth. The guy who even discovered it said it isn't. There's virtually no scholar that thinks it's Jesus of Nazareth. In fact, Jesus, Joshua, Yeshua, same name, was the 6th most popular name in Palestine in the 1st century. Do you know how many Jesus ossuaries they've found so far? As of 2006, last date I have, 22. 22 Jesus ossuaries. It'd be like going to the graveyard today and seeing John on a tombstone and going, it's got to be John the Baptist. No, it doesn't have to be John the Baptist. Now, why would you do such a thing? You know, you make a lot of money on those things, don't you? If you write a documentary that says, oh, the Bible might be true, a lot of people don't pay any attention, unless you're, who was the guy that just did it? He was just telling the story. He wasn't even doing a documentary. Barnett, no, not
Yeah.
Burnett, yeah. He just made it fun, right? He just made, let's tell the Bible story. But if you get out there and you do a documentary that suggests the Bible may not be true, you get a lot of attention in the media. Crucifixion we know existed. Why? This is an actual heel bone from a crucified victim from the 1st century. That's the nail going through the heel bone. That's just a mock-up that showed a relative angle of the nail going through the heel bone. In fact, there's been so many discoveries that even U.S. News and World Report, not a Christian mouthpiece last I checked, put it this way. In extraordinary ways, modern archaeology has affirmed the historical core of the Old and New Testaments, corroborating key points of the stories of Israel's patriarchs, the Exodus, the Davidic monarchy, and the life and times of Jesus. Wait, let's take a look at that again. The patriarchs, that would be Abraham. Exodus, that's Moses. Davidic monarchy, that's David. The life, that's the whole Bible! Yeah, that's the point. There are literally scores of these archaeological discoveries out there that show that the Bible has a strong historical core to it. And it doesn't prove that all the Bible's true. It's just showing that when the Bible's talking about history, quite often it's telling the truth. In fact, don't let this get out of the room because it's a little bit politically incorrect. It's amazing how you get people's attention by saying that. But do you know that archaeologists often use the Bible to find stuff? Did you know that? They do. Why? Because it does lead them to archaeological discoveries. Now, this next one is my favorite. We've got early testimony. We've got eyewitness testimony. What's this embarrassing testimony about? Embarrassing testimony is a principle that goes like this. If there's something embarrassing to the author or authors, it's probably true. Why? Why would it be true? You're not going to make up details that make yourself look bad, right? In fact, let me put it this way. How many people in here have ever lied to make yourself look good? Can I see your hands, please? If you don't have your hands up, you're lying. You're trying to make yourself look good. Right? Second, how many people have ever lied to make yourself look bad? You don't do that. You try and hide those things. You wouldn't lie to make yourself look bad. I do enough stupid stuff, really, that I don't need to be making up stupid stuff I do. Well, it turns out the New Testament documents, and by the way, the Old Testament documents, same way, are filled with embarrassing details about the author and authors. There's no way they would have made this up if they're trying to pass off a lie as the truth. In fact, we call this principle of embarrassment, we call it the duh factor. Okay? Because they would not make this up. Let me give you a few examples here. First of all, the New Testament writers depict themselves as dim-witted. They fail to understand what Jesus is saying several times. They didn't know what he was saying. We didn't know what he was talking about. We didn't know what he meant. They are uncaring. They fall asleep on Jesus not once, but twice. Stay up with me and pray. This is my greatest hour of need. We'll do it, Lord. Don't worry. What do they wind up doing? Not once, but twice. They make no effort to give Jesus a proper burial. Who buries Jesus? Joseph of Arimathea, Nicodemus. Now, who was Joseph? Well, he's a member of the Sanhedrin. What did the Sanhedrin do? They sentenced Jesus to die. Now, why would these people make Joseph look like a good guy while they ran away and hid for fear of the Jews? And why would they put Jesus in a Jewish tomb if they were making it up? What could the Jews have done If he was in their tomb, but he hasn't resurrected from the dead, what could the Jews have done? Immediately, they squashed Christianity. They could have gone to their own tomb, taken out the body, and said, he's not dead, or he's not resurrected, he's dead, here's his body. Christianity's false. If he wasn't in their tomb, the New Testament writers would have lost all credibility by saying, he's in your tomb. The Jews would have said, he's not in our tomb, never been in our tomb. That's not what they said at all. What did they say? They said that the disciples came and stole the body while the guards were asleep. Now that's a bad explanation for at least two reasons. Reason number one, if you're a Roman guard on duty and you fall asleep on watch, what happens to you? You're toast. Reason number two, if you're a Roman guard on duty and you fall asleep on watch, how do you know what happened? What happened? Well, we were asleep, see? And then the disciples came right down here and stole the body. Doesn't make any sense. You say, how do we know that that is their actual story? Because for the first century and a half of the church, the Christians kept saying Jesus rose from the dead. And the Jews kept saying, no, disciples came and stole the body while the guards were asleep. Now, by coming up with that explanation, what are they admitting? They're admitting the tomb was empty, right? You don't need to come up with an empty tomb alibi if he's still in there. Go to your own tomb, take the body out. They couldn't do that. Why? Because he wasn't in there. Also, they are rebuked. Peter, their leader, is called Satan by Jesus. You think they made this up? Do you think Mark, who recorded this, said, hey, Pete, I'm going to make this a real interesting story. I'm going to have a Lord call you Satan. What do you think Peter would have said? Have him call you Satan. What you calling me Satan for? I'm the leader here. Also, notice, Paul rebukes Peter for being wrong about a theological issue. He says, I told Peter to his face that he was wrong for trying to get these New Testament believers to obey the Old Testament law. Now, if they're making all this up, why would these two apostles be arguing about doctrine in the Bible? Why would they be doing this? They're just trying to be true. And they're not making it up. They wouldn't be doing this if they were making it up. Also, they are cowards. Peter denies Christ 3 times after saying, I'll never deny you, Lord. Now think about this. This is their leader. He's called Satan by the Lord. Then he says, I'll never deny you, but he does. Then later on, Paul has to dope slap him for being wrong about theology. They're not making this up. Then also notice the disciples run away. This is like a Monty Python movie. Run away. Oh, they all run away. Now, who are the brave ones?
Women.
Yes, the women are the brave ones. That's right, ladies. You can give yourselves a hand. I am woman. Hear me roar. Now, who wrote this down? Men. Now, what man? was going to say that he was hiding for fear of the Jews, while the women went down and discovered the empty tomb. Did any man here make that up? Would you make that up, man? I know if I was making it up, I'd write something down like, let's see, we marched right down there and overpowered that elite Roman guard. Yeah, that sounds good. And then we saw Jesus, who congratulated us on our great faith. And then we went and comforted the trembling women. Let's say you're Mr. Sissy Pants. Why the women went down to discover the empty tomb? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, by the way, if you were making up this story, why would you never say the women were the first witnesses? Not just the embarrassing part of it, but why? Yeah, credibility. In that culture, a woman's testimony was not considered on par with that of a man. So if you're making up the New Testament story, you'd only have the men be the first witnesses. But all 4 Gospels say the women were the first witnesses. Why?
It's true.
Because they were. They're not making this up. They're not trying to write a PR release here. They're just telling the truth. I had one lady come up to me once. She said, I know why Jesus appeared to the women first. I said, why? She said, because he wanted to get the story out. You know, that is an excellent point. I thought of that. In fact, ladies, when your man comes home from work, does he say much?
No.
Now, can you imagine? He says, no, I never hear from him. Can you imagine Peter coming home that Resurrection Sunday and his wife sees him and says, hey, honey, anything to work today? Yeah, same old, same old. Wait, I heard Jesus has risen from the dead just like he predicted. Is it true? Oh, yeah, it is. You got anything to eat around here? They don't say much. Also notice they are doubters. Despite being taught several times that Jesus would rise from the dead, the disciples are doubtful when they hear of his resurrection. Not only are they doubtful when they hear of his resurrection, some are even doubtful after they see him risen. You see this verse right here? This is Matthew 28:17. What happens in Matthew 28:19? Anyone? Matthew 28:19. No, not Thomas. That's John. Great Commission, right? That's why churches exist. The Great Commission. Jesus in Matthew 28:19 says, he's standing there. He's giving them the Great Commission, which is go, therefore, make disciples of all nations. Notice he doesn't say make believers. Make disciples of all nations, baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen, and the Lord with you always even to the end of the age. And then he ascends to heaven. And as they're standing there, there's some of them going, see that guy over there? Yeah. That guy over there is Jesus. Oh, come on, he can't be Jesus. He was killed just the other day. I'm telling you, it can't be Jesus. He was killed. I saw him. Spear went in his side. Blood and water came out. I'm telling you, it's Jesus. It can't be. He was dead. I'm telling you, how do you know it's Jesus? Women told you. There's even potentially embarrassing details about Jesus. Take a look at this. He's considered out of his mind by his own family who come to seize him and take him home. You think they made that up? I always hear scholars saying, well, you know, the New Testament writers just embellished Jesus and made him out to be God. Oh, really? Then why are they putting stuff like this in there? They thought he was nuts. He's deserted by many of his followers. In John chapter 6, he says, you want to follow me? You must eat my flesh and drink my blood. And many of the disciples said, oh, this is a hard teaching. We can't follow this guy anymore. Hey, if I was there, I'd say the same thing. Eat your flesh and drink your blood. What are you, a cannibal? I'm not following you either. And who would have made that up? Eat flesh, drink blood. That's not a made-up doctrine. He's not believed in by his own brothers. In John chapter 7, his own brothers don't believe him. That's very embarrassing to have a rabbi not have his own brothers believe in him. We learn later, however, that his own brother James not only believes in him, he dies as a martyr for him. I already told you that story, right? Why the change of heart? Paul actually tells us in the Creed, 1 Corinthians 15, verses 3 to 8, it says Jesus appeared to James. So he dies in the very city. Jesus is alleged to have risen from the dead for his brother being God. But when Jesus was on the earth before the resurrection, he didn't think his own brother was God. How many people in here have a brother? How many people here have a brother who thinks he's God? You don't believe in him either, right? Well, James didn't until he got the resurrection. He's thought to be a deceiver. He turns off Jewish believers to the point that they want to stone him. In John chapter 8, he's talking to Jews who believed him. He gets to the point in the conversation, he says, look, if you believe in Abraham, you ought to believe in me because I knew Abraham. And they said, what? You're not even 50 years old. How could you know Abraham? And what does he say? Before Abraham was born, I am. And they immediately picked up stones to stone him. Why? Why did they pick up stones to stone him? Who is he claiming to be? God. What's that a quotation from? That's a quotation from Exodus 3:14, the burning bush. Do you remember when God appeared to Charlton Heston? Remember that? Moses says to God, who should I tell the Israelites you are? God says, tell the Israelites I am sends you. What does I am mean? I am means the self-existent eternal one. Jesus is claiming to be Yahweh. He's claiming to be the self-existent eternal one. That's why the Jews picked up stones to stone him. They knew what he was claiming. You know, it amazes me today that some people say Jesus never claimed to be God, like Jehovah's Witnesses. When they come to my door, I always go, hey, come on in. In fact, just the other day they came over. And they always come in twos. So there's an elder and a younger guy. So the younger guy does all the talking as the elder guy is standing there trying to coach him a little bit, but he doesn't want to say much. So I said to the younger guy, I said, hey, Jesus never claimed to be God. Why did they kill him? For saying, love your neighbor? For saying, bless those who persecute you? Hey, did you hear what Jesus just said? Yeah, he said, love your neighbor. Oh, we can't tolerate that. You must die! You don't get killed for saying, love your neighbor. Well, as I'm saying this to this guy, the other guy, the older guy, is starting to get jittery. You know? He wants to jump in on the conversation, but he also wants the other guy to try and make it. And so we had this long conversation where I kept saying, look, right there, Jesus is claiming to be God. That's why the Jews picked up stones to stone him. He wouldn't have gotten killed any other way. But by claiming to be God, that was blasphemy to